Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to watch a video called Speaking Texas German. I have never been to the States or Texas, but I have heard that German descendants are still using a German dialect that I think no German living in Germany knows how to speak, and I have never heard this dialect. So let's listen to it and see if we can understand something or all of it or anything. Okay, let's go.
The Germans that immigrated to Texas in the 1840s came from all areas across Germany. Most of my grandparents came to Fredericksburg in the 1840s, so my great-great-grandparents arrived in Indianola, came to New Braunfels, then into Fredericksburg, and settled here. So as they came into Fredericksburg, settled down, married, the dialects merged with each other. So our German language here has a dialect that is quite different from any other regions in the United States.
Kein Wasser ins Haus gehabt.
Well, das ist wie wir gestern Abend.
I did grow up speaking German, and I spoke only German until I started school. I learned the home life language, working in the garden alongside Mother and Daddy. That was in the German language. Going and staying with grandparents, great-grandparents, getting the eggs with Opa, and doing some sewing with Oma. I learned about helping my mother with the children, so that was done in the German language.
No one
discovered
speaks
the
yet.
Texas German dialect in the summer of 2001. Then I stopped in Fredericksburg. I had lunch. I heard these elderly gentlemen speak an interesting variety of German that I've never heard before. So I went up to them and I asked, where are you from and what are you doing here? And they looked at me in disbelief and they said, what do you mean? We've always been here and we speak Texas German and we're fifth generation Texas Germans. And that was the first time that I had not only heard Texas German spoken, but that I also knew that it existed.
You know, actually, when they voted in the USA which language should be the official language, whatever year that was, when the Constitution was founded, when the country was founded, or declared its independence, I guess, there was only one vote more for the English language, because there's so many German immigrants in the States that only one vote was missing. And if one person 100, 200 years ago would have decided that it should be German, the whole world would speak German now and have a massive headache studying it. So I guess they decided to vote for English because it's the easier language.
Ja, jedes Mal dasselbe. Ja, gut.
My first
Always the same.
experience in learning that the German language in Fredericksburg was quite different than the language in Germany was in 1996 when we met with the people from Montabaur here and in Germany. There were words that I used that would bring these smiles to people's faces, and they would say, oh, now I haven't heard that word used since my grandmother passed away.
So at the end, after 3 to 4 to 5 generations, the dialect that you get sounds a little bit like all the input dialects from 100 or 150 years ago, but it's a unique dialect. So Texas German is different in that it's a mix of different dialects. And then Texas German is also interesting because it's been in contact with English for such a long time. So you have a long list of hundreds of words that have been borrowed from English into Texas German. One of the obvious ones is words like die Stinkkatz, which literally means the stinking cat. They saw this little fluffy thing that was walking around and looked like a cat. but it really
Stinktier.
had a bad smell, so they literally
We call it in German Stinktier, the stink animal, and they call it the stinking cat.
called it stinking cat.
Funny.
It's something very uniquely Texan.
Da war
Stinkkatze.
keine Wagen, so der Herbst und seine Frau und die Jungen sind bei Fuß.
Texas German is really hard to find these days. If you go to 9-pin bowling alleys, if you go to particular types of social clubs like dancing clubs, shooting clubs, card playing clubs, specifically in areas like New Braunfels or in Fredericksburg or in Schulenburg or Freiburg or in Comfort. You can go to feed stores, you can go to hardware stores. And if you're lucky, you run into people who speak Texas German with you.
Oh, that's it? Well, they didn't speak much, so that was a bit disappointed. I would have wished to hear them more talking, just like normally, you know. They were saying here something.
Wasser ins Haus gehabt.
Well, das ist wie wir gestern Abend.
But that sounded like normal German. I couldn't make a difference there. Yeah, it would be great to see more. But this is actually a very common thing, that there's colonies around the world from Europeans, and then they develop or keep the same dialect like 200 years ago. Even my grandmother, she was living far away in the Soviet Union in a German settlement, and they moved here again like in the 90s. And she always used words I never heard anywhere else in my life. So they kept for hundreds of years the same dialect, or they even went their own way with the language, which is super interesting. And yeah, let's see if they have something more to share with Texas German. They don't. But maybe I will investigate, and maybe we can find something more. See you in the next video.